What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Live with Brandon Blakeney podcast. I am your host, Brandon Blakeney, aka Brandon Lee TV, and we are back at it again, my friends, with another banger. So kick back, relax, and come take a ride with me.
You are now locked into the Live with Brandon Blakeney podcast. Here is your host, Brandon Blakeney.
Look, the Sheryl Swoopes crash out has been well documented. She's been beefing with Nancy Lieberman. They're no longer friends. She's been beefing over her comments with Caitlin Clark, saying that she was a fifth-year senior and taking way more shots than she actually took. She just really hasn't given Clark credit for anything she's accomplished as far as the triple-doubles or anything else on the court for that matter since her WNBA career began, and it's continued to rub people the wrong way. Now, I mentioned she was initially beefing with Lieberman, who went on Stephen A's show, who has arguably the biggest platform of any sports podcaster, really. And she laid it all out how she called Sheryl Swoopes, and they had a conversation. It didn't go as planned. Sheryl Swoopes got pissed, ended the call, ended the conversation, and they haven't really been having a relationship since. Now, and it was well documented. Stephen A was very critical of Sheryl Swoopes as well, just basically calling her a hater, saying how ridiculous she was and how crazy it was and how delusional she is for not acknowledging Caitlin Clark and talking about anybody else on the Indiana Fever. Like, he was basically saying, how could you bring up the Indiana Fever without mentioning Caitlin Clark? We cannot deny her impact on and off the court, man. Just with viewership, sponsorships, funding for the league, helping anchor this new TV contract, bringing all types of views, turning Indiana from the number one pick to the playoffs in year one. Like, it is just unbelievable the accolades she's racking up, and she finds herself, arguably, in my opinion, top 4 in the MVP race. Well, Sydney Brunson, an anchor at SportsCenter as well, went off, called Stephen A out, one of his counterparts, called Stephen A out, and was very critical about how she felt.
The fact that Stephen A is using my sister Sheryl Swoopes for clicks and likes is horrifying. And I implore everybody that can hear my voice to push back on Stephen A and say, why won't you have Sheryl on? Why won't you have Monica McNutt back? Because they called him out. He just doesn't want to face the truth, and he wants to line up in the narrative behind everybody else that Caitlin Clark came down the mountain with tablets in her hand to save the WNBA. Here's a news flash. The W didn't need saving. It just needed promotion. The product has never been the problem. It has always been the promotion. I'd also like to say, let's press the Indiana organization. If Caitlin isn't going to do the right thing, I think General Manager Lynn Dunn, Head Coach Stephanie White, Christy Sides, other folks in that organization need to push back on the vitriol that is aimed particularly at Black women and LGBTQI plus women that make up the majority of the league.
She's on Stephen A's rump, y'all, talking about the narrative, talking about him using Sheryl Swoopes. In my opinion, though, I gotta be honest about this whole situation. I respect her standing up for her friend. I'm not here to bash Sheryl Swoopes, but Swoopes did it to herself. You're literally a legend, one of the game's GOATs, a perennial all-star, a Hall of Famer, multi-time champion, one in college, one in the WNBA with arguably the best dynasty in women's hoops history in the WNBA. No one is questioning your pedigree, but for you to have this much disdain for a rookie, a young guard coming up in the league, like, it feels personal. And it has to be to the point where the Dallas Wings pulled you from your job, pulled you off a broadcast, got you up out of there because the league felt like you couldn't put your bias aside and be professional and call a game featuring Caitlin Clark. Of course they're going to protect their investment, their golden goose. the face of the league right now. No disrespect to Asia Wilson, who is the best player in the league. But Caitlin Clark is the most notarized player in the league. She is the most recognizable player in the league. She is the biggest marketing tool that the league has had. I do agree with the point that the product that the WNBA has put out has been extraordinary. There's been great players coming through there for decades. The quality of basketball has remained at a high level. It's good bump. It's good bump. It's elite bump. What Caitlin is doing is bringing more eyes to the game that are making these elite players that have been hooping and killing in the league household names now, because people are tuning in to see them go up against Caitlin Clark. The league definitely needed marketing, but they needed a star, a face to really build around, like how the NBA has done for decades. And they got that with Caitlin Clark. And what she's done to elevate the league and bring in new fans, every player should be rejoicing. They about to get that real money. Salaries are going up. TV contracts, a new one is coming. Expansion is coming. New fans by the bevy. Like, it's great business right now, and the WNBA is finally, their marketing has been their biggest problem because they get in their own way. They've been their biggest enemy when it comes to marketing. They have finally figured out a recipe that works. They've figured out the formula, and it's working. Most nationally televised games, most views in a season by far, most viewed WNBA draft, most viewed WNBA All-Star game ever. They're breaking all types of just landmark highs for this league. And I'm not saying it's solely just Caitlin. Like, Angel Reese is doing her part. This rookie class is sensational. The Las Vegas Aces, Asia Wilson, one of the most marketable players. Like, everybody's chipping in right now. But Caitlin Clark absolutely blasted the door open, if we're being honest. So I get Stephen A's point of how, I agree with that part of his statement of how can you bring up the Indiana Fever, but not mention Caitlin Clark like the face of that franchise. She's just refused. Swoopes has refused to acknowledge anything greatness, any type of greatness, any type of accolades that Caitlin Clark has accomplished so far in her young season, in her young career. And I don't know where it generates from. I don't know where this hate is coming from, but she's looking like a generational hater, and she's done it to herself. If Swoopes would have just apologized, admitted that she was wrong on the stats, because as a journalist, with integrity, right, you have to deliver the facts. You have to be accurate, and you can't be out here spreading fake news. And that's exactly what happened, and she didn't apologize. She didn't retract her statement. It doesn't seem like she's reached out to Caitlin to try to, reconcile whatever differences there may be. It definitely seems one-sided, because Caitlin has just been hooping through all the criticism. And, Stephen A. may have needed to be called out. I don't know. Brunson is standing up for her friends. Salute to her being loyal. But he's got some valid points as well, man. Swoopes did it to herself, in my opinion. Y'all let me know how y'all feel in the comments, though. Holler at me, talk to me, give me y'all's reaction. That is a wrap for us. For all the latest and the greatest, I am Brandon Blakeney, a.k.a. Brandon Lee TV. This is the Live with Brandon Blakeney podcast. Make sure to hit that subscribe button to stay up with all the latest and the greatest. Until next time, we out.